It looks like Dylan, you're done. Do you want to go ahead and go through that whole? Is that your? Are you the sound effect guy now? Is that what you're doing?
Midterm Mondays. What is up, y'all? I'm with my buddy Jesse Vasquez, and you guys already know we're here to help you guys out be successful in midterms.
I
How you
should.
doing, Jesse?
We just got to record you doing that, dude, and then I'll just be the intro whenever we start this. It's just you doing that. Um,
Beatboxing, golly.
and Dunn actually right now he's got a cold, so I don't know if you guys ever have watched any movies from the '90s and even early 2000s where he always say like in a world of like, can you do that? Do you have the voice for that right now? Can you
I
try that?
do.
Let's hear it. In a world of midterm Mondays, can you do that maybe?
In the world of short-term rentals.
There you go, dude. Yeah, I'm doing good. Dunn has been sick for the last probably 3 months, and his entire family got sick, and he's finally getting over it. He did take a voiceover job in Los Angeles for the guy that does It's a World stuff, but we're excited today because we're going to be talking about what we normally talk about at the end of the month, which is questions that you guys have asked the community. We're going to be answering those today. Today's probably going to be a little shorter than normal. I think we're going to kind of go into some stuff that's important that we find some concepts in and the ideas, and obviously answering the questions you guys have had. But yeah, Dunn, I'm doing good, man. Thank you for asking. I truly appreciate it. I'm glad you and your family are better now. And Dunn has all of his kids were all sick at the exact same time. And for anybody that has kids, like that is not a fun thing to deal with. So,
It's a nightmare.
Dunn, I'm glad you have made it through that little apocalypse there that you went through at home, right?
Yes, sir. It was a nightmare, but we made it through, man.
I love it. I love it. Well, I'm glad you're doing better. What are we going to be talking about today, Dunn? Let's break this down.
Yeah, we got a couple good ones. There has been a lot of posts about the LA fires, so just want to go over that real quick, guys. You already know it's a very um, devastating situation going down in LA, and there's a shortage. Obviously, this massive influx of needs, and folks are having a hard time connecting folks into homes. Right, even I'm having a hard time. We're waiting, and a lot of the questions you guys posted, we're all going through it. We're all trying to help these families as fast as we can. And one of those ways, of course, is obviously the rent budget. Right, we're not part of what everyone else is doing with. Plus, I don't know if you saw it, but Airbnb, Zillow had put out emails saying the state of California state of emergency can't go past 10%. So I'm glad they put that out. But before that, the prices were crazy.
Yeah,
People trying to capitalize.
there's
Yeah.
still little pockets of it. In fact, I started setting alerts up on Zillow for any new listings that go for rent in the Altadena market. And dude, I just got one today. It was for a 700 square foot, 1.5 bedroom place. It was renting for $13,000 a month, dude. Um,
Bro.
and I want to go back and find my email on this. And it's crazy for me to think about these types of situations. And I think not only that, but I think a lot of people think that just in the Altadena area, there is a lot of multi-million-dollar homes, but there's also a lot of folks that live in that space that are working in the service industry. And the service industry doesn't pay millions of dollars. So I think that people need to be very thoughtful of, yes,
Yeah.
Altadena is, an affluent area where we see a lot of movie stars and producers and writers and all that kind of stuff, but there's also a whole subset of another class of individuals who absolutely cannot afford a $13,000 a month freaking one bedroom place. So yeah, I'm glad that that's being worked on. I don't know how, I know there's laws that are around that specifically. Even with the insurance industry, as like you just talked about a minute ago, a lot of us have been reaching out to a lot of different folks. In fact, we have a running list right now of people that are in within a 50-mile radius of where the fires originally started, which is the Altadena area. I think we have like, Don, have you looked at it recently? I think it's like 125 homes that are in that market,
Yeah.
which is quite a bit. And I'll make sure that I add that link to if you guys do have a property and you do want to drop it in here. I want to make sure that folks are familiar with where they can actually list their properties, and that's where people like myself and Dunn actually is getting a lot of runoff of from relocation specialists that we're talking to. And keep in mind, a lot of these companies right now, they're just starting to get the backlog of. I think there was, and I wish I had the information in front of me. There was over 10,000 structures that were burnt. I think it was like 10,800 or something like that. And Dunn, maybe you can look this up as I'm talking. and there was over 6,000 residents that were burned in that entire thing. So think about this right now: 6,000 claims that need to go in effect for companies, or these insurance relocation companies, to start searching for housing. How long is that going to take? I actually just talked to a guy that I know this morning. His name is Alvin. Shout out to Alvin, who has a bunch of property in like Burbank and stuff like that. And he was just telling me, like, man, I'm being bombarded right now with emails from. He never worked actually in the mid space at all. He's getting messages. He's like, how do I talk to these companies? What do I do? How do I say this? Dunn, you just mentioned it a minute ago. You have to find out what the rent is in that market. And the crazy thing about it is the rents are going up. Like if you just type in the Google chat bar, what is rents in Los Angeles right now? They're actually going up. Like they're going up all over the place. Because again, keep in mind, 6,000 people have been displaced. More than that.
Yeah.
Well,
That's Palisades alone.
Yeah. And
that's 6,000 Palisades. Yeah.
Yeah. And we're just talking about just specific people in that market, and they're having to go outside of that. And insurance companies right now are actually asking for up to 75 miles past. If you were to drop a pin, like Google Maps,
that's crazy.
You drop the pin in the Palisades, they're willing to go out 75 miles outside of that. Typically, if somebody has a fire within their own neighborhood, they're looking to just stay within that same zip code. Obviously, they can't do that here right now. So I don't know. I still think there's a lot of stuff that needs to happen, and there's a lot of things that need to go into place in order for folks like myself and many of you out there that have property in the greater Los Angeles area, not specific to Altadena, but even other markets where these folks are going to have to relocate to. And I actually heard a thing earlier about people in that market that are not going to want to move back. I don't know if that's actually the case at all. I think people that live in those, especially in the Los Angeles area, they thrive there. They've been there for a long time. I think they're going to come back. But I mean, again, it's like, what are you going to do, man? It's think about this, like 6,000 properties being rebuilt at the same time. That's freaking crazy. Like how do you do that?
Yeah, no one's ever prepared for it. And the relocations, the folks that we're working with, they're not prepared for it. It's just so much work, so many claims. So the reason why it's taken so long, because they're trying to catch up as well. Right. Yeah. And that's a lot of the posts that we're going to go over. Is like, why is it taking so long? It's like, guys, this is not just like a regular, pipe bursted, right? Like there's tons of folks who are trying to help.
Yeah. Yeah. Deb, I saw in the chat box right now, Deb just wrote, these were engineered firestorms. They are not forest fires. The trees did burn on the outside. They burned from the inside. White ash everywhere. Yeah. I'm not sure. I don't know what actually happened there. Oh, she's talking about just like in Maui. Was it Maui where that other freaking massive fire?
Malibu. Palisades. Yep.
No. In Hawaii. It happened in.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Maui.
Maui. Yeah. I don't know the ins and outs of that. I mean, especially nowadays, I think we need to question what's happening in a lot of ways, but I don't want to make this a political conversation today because Dunn and I don't agree with a lot of politics, and we don't want to hear Dunn and I argue about anything at all. So we're going to leave that out of here.
Wait, let's see it on the chat box, guys. No, I was kidding. We're going to sell tickets, me and Jesse.
Yeah, and real quick, before we jump into this, we're going to be answering the questions. Just so you guys know, if you haven't already, I'm having a midterm rental summit April 27th to the 29th in San Diego. Tickets are on sale right now. In fact, in the next 3 days, the price is going to be going up. Every 30 days, the price goes up a certain piece. So if you guys want to get early bird special to go meet Dan Martell, Dunn in person, watch him on the stage, watch Ziona McIntyre, Noble Crawford, Pace Morby, who's going to be talking about sub 2 and how to, and what I love about what Pace is going to be doing, he's going to be talking about sub 2 in the midterm, which I think is one of the greatest strategies on the planet. And then also probably talking about a few other things. Who else am I forgetting? That's Amy Marjorie, who's going to be talking about private money lending and actually being able to raise private money. I think for me, I've always been terrified of that. So I'm excited to, learn from her, which again, I still learn from a lot of people in this space. And I'm just excited. So get your tickets. I'm going to put it in the chat box here to make sure you guys grab them. Dunn, are you ready to jump into this, man? Let's go ahead and
let's do it. All right, let me share my screen, y'all. All righty, we'll start from the top. We got Sandy Vo, and I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing your last name wrong, Nakarado. She says, I would love to hear from anyone who has submitted their homes to insurance agencies. We've submitted several homes over a few insurance websites, but haven't gotten a confirmation or any follow-up. Is this typically how it works, or is there something we're missing?
That's a good question.
Thoughts?
Dylan, you
Yeah.
wanna you wanna take
Yeah,
that?
yeah. Yeah, I do. I do actually.
Go ahead.
So it depends, Sandy, on where you're at in your phase. It sounds like, based on your question, what you put here, that you just submitted in the website and we're not picking up the phone, reaching out, trying to find that relocation specialist, that agent that's working for that company. Um, LinkedIn, everyone knows that, right? We use LinkedIn that's one of the tools we use to find folks inside a company to get connected to. Um, if you just post it on the website, you're gonna be sitting for quite a while. Phone call or emails, reach out. That's the next step for you. That's what's missing. But again, if you are if you're working directly already with a relocation specialist and you submit a home, it really depends on the relationship that you have with that specialist. Is it new? Is it kind of like they're testing you out, see if you could deliver, or is it a relationship you have already where you guys have an understanding of how you can preference of communication? But yeah, I would say start calling. That's what's missing.
Yeah, I agree with that. And the other thing too, and this, I think a lot of people get stuck on this because they think once you go to like, ALE's website and you list your property on there, or like CRS or
Yeah.
THC or one of these other companies, that they're automatically going to, these, specialists are going to receive your email and then call you back. Again, this is the thing with this. If you are, depending where you're at in the world, you have to, and I've said this many times, so I'm going to say it real quick. Just in order for an insurance claim to work, you have to have the an unforeseen circumstance happen within a certain mile radius of your house. So you have to check mark all these boxes. Keep this in mind, you guys, when you guys are posting your properties and expecting them to get booked right away. For the insurance side, uh, property's got to be lost. Unfortunate event happens, right? Um, that happens in a bunch of different ways. It doesn't have to be a fire. It could be a flood. It could be somebody. We just had a claim not too long ago where a child left a water faucet upstairs on, went to school, came back, and the entire top floor flooded into the bottom stairs kitchen, just like totally demolished the house. Has to be redone. Now that family has got to get contacted. That they have to work with the company that you've already put your property in. It's got to be within a certain standard or a certain area within that property. It's got to fall within the budget of their additional living expense that the family has. Each policyholder has a completely different type of dollar amount when it comes to what they're actually allowed to use. Your property has to fall within that. Then the family has to go see your place. They have to walk through and say, "I like this place. I want to be here." And then, after that, then you get your property booked. That first part that I just talked about right now, just submitting your property, you're already in, you go into the abyss. Like you submit, you go into the middle of whatever that, upside down world is with the insurance relocation space. And then you're just kind of like a waiting game. So I would encourage everybody, like, if you're going to list, just like Dunn said, make sure to go, get on LinkedIn. These tools and tactics and tricks that we talk about, especially my mentorship class. I don't even have the time to go through this with you guys now, where it's like, who are you messaging? Are you sending a long ass message saying, I have this house that's in this market that needs to get rented? It's 3 months. I already paid the mortgage myself. Guess what? The insurance relocation specialist don't care. It's like, how can you actually serve what they have going on and not just your property? And I think the second you're able to think about that context of your place, it's hard to get your property booked. It really, really is. With insurance relocation claims, you have to be in the right space at the right time, which is why Dunn and I and a lot of Dylan, we've talked about this all the time, where you have to look at it like a pie chart. It's spread up. You got midterm relocation claims would be 20%, traveling healthcare is 20%, corporate listings is 20%. You have these different types of clients that you're going after, not just one individual. So that'd be my first suggestion. But also, you have to do a lot of work, and most people aren't willing to do work when it goes to creating a business, because that's what you're actually doing here. You're actually creating a business from scratch that is nothing, rather than your property, which is tangible. But then you got to create the stuff that's on top of that. So, do you have a landing page? Do you have a network of other operators that you're working with in your own market that you can already rely on and count on, that are not looking at you as a competitor, rather as an ally? So like, you have to check mark all these boxes off and realize, like, okay, I'm actually starting a business from scratch. And a lot of that is business to business connections. That's what we talk about here all the time. You're connecting your business that you need to create, and you can't create something if you don't have the concept, which most of you have. Then you need to have it somewhere visible, like on the internet, or create a social media account where you talk about what you're doing and you document what you're doing, kind of like the Gary Vee style, right? Where he was in a car and just talked about what he was doing, um, so people know exactly what he does. In fact, Dylan or Dunn, I'm going to ask you this: who does Gary Vee? What does he want to buy?
Attention.
But what else? Like, have you ever listened to him enough where like he always talks about buying something?
Oh yeah, the Jets.
Exactly. Everybody on the planet knows that Gary Vee wants to buy the Jets. If you're just starting a business off and you're not telling anybody what you're doing, like how the hell is anybody going to? Literally, everybody knows that Gary Vee wants to buy the Jets. You have to be so thoughtful enough that you're going to give the information out of what you're trying to do, how you're doing it, and just going back to the Gary Vee, like everybody knows that he wants to buy the Jets. Is that going to ever happen? I don't know, but I know that, and Dunn knows that, and I haven't really consumed any of his content since like freaking 2007. So I still remember that. And I think, again, we have to think about these things this way. So when we talk about building these businesses and stuff like that, you're just shooting in the dark unless you're like really thoughtful about how you approach this, how you put it together, the avenues that you're going to be reaching out to people. You have to think about it like a business. And again, not everybody has that vernacular to start off. And I think that's one of the easier things to learn is the business vernacular, what to look at. But then the other parts of that is marketing, which is what we just talked about a minute ago. So to make a long story even longer, I think what's most important is that, and this is where I myself and Dunn have got really good at this. 5 years ago, I wasn't a business guru. I don't think I'm a business guru now, but I'm learning things and I've tried stuff and we're trying to understand things and we're doing things differently. And the one little niche that we do understand is this one particular right here that you're talking about. What was her name, Dunn? Is it Jessica? I think that was her name. But like that's what you have to do. You have to start thinking about like a business and putting yourself out there in a way that's actually going to be conducive to the growth of that business that you've thought about, that now you want to get bookings, but you have to do that extra work and do the layers of the things that are actually going to bring you the referrals. People got to know that you want to buy the Jets, but that's not the Jets. It's you getting insurance relocation claims. You have to be putting that out.
I just hear someone calling a relocation specialist. Hey, I want to buy the Jets. Jesse said.
Jesse Vasquez, and he's like, "Can we buy the Jets like Gary Vee?" But no, does that make sense? That analogy makes sense at all? I was trying to get where like people would understand.
It does. Okay. Yeah, people, you gotta show people what your business is. So, in short, like I get it, right? Folks get into business to make money, obviously, right? We need money, right? But business is to solve problems. Business is formed because it's solving a need, a problem. So that's how what Jesse's saying is position yourself with, the RS, not your property. My business is to help you guys, to help housing needs, right? So that's really it.
Yeah, totally, man. Yeah, that was a long-winded answer to a short question. But again, the reason why I bring this up is because I don't think people realize like you can get lucky listing your property on the platform, like the ALE website and all that stuff. But if you want to get consecutive business and actually create something out of it, there has to be a long game play. And I think a lot of people will get into this because they'll get their first taste of what a 3x booking, long-term rental booking feels like and the kind of money that comes with it. But then you got to go out and do all this marketing and connecting and networking, and that's where it's hard and it's not as easy as landing that first booking sometimes. But then you have to work it. And I think that actually the best time to build a business, especially in the corporate space or the relocation space, whatever it is when you actually get that first booking, because now I'm not stressed about having to go push myself to get a booking. Like that's my time to actually start to play, to start to make all these calls, because I know I'm going to have 3 months of consecutive income coming through that's going to allow me to have that flexibility where I could spend the time and energy on building something that could be meaningful 3 months from now. And that's what I want everybody to realize. Like, I don't know if I was talking to you, Don, about this or somebody else recently, but I realized that everything that I do today is going to pay me back. And I've said this before with the insurance relocation space, is 6 months. Like everything I do today is actually going to be beneficial in 6 months from now. If you can keep that in your mind as you're starting to build this, and maybe you're not getting the bookings, but maybe you're making connections, it'll all come back to you in 6 months. Bigger picture, everything you do today, whether it's on social media, going on a midterm rental summit, doing all that stuff, all that energy that you put into that today is going to come back in a year or two. But you have to continue to feed that, and you got to continue to be a part of it. And there's just so much to business. We're going to do like a business 101 thing one day where it's like, we just talk about that. Here's the 5 structures that you should be thinking about, how to build it out, what it looks like, and all that stuff. And that's what we talk about in the, the academy that I'm a part of, that I own, that Dun's a part of, that Dun's in, where he talks about these things. That's what we do there. So if you guys want to know more about that, reach out to us. We'll definitely get into it. But hopefully that was an answer to the question. Go ahead, Dun.
No, that's gold, man. That's gold. That's really what it is. You want to surround yourself with folks who has these ideas, or better yet, the experience, the failures, so then you can have those conversations with them and skip those failures, or maybe a framework, or there's a better way to call an agent. What should I say? Right. So definitely leveraging other people's experiences accelerates your journey for sure. But
Yeah,
I
dude.
love it because this next one right here, Jessica Martin, she says, "This is one of those times I really wish I had a mentor." Jessica, what are you doing? We're here. House hacking advice, please. Oh, I wish Emily Hammer was here. She's a killer in this one. I am house hacking my MTR property. It was a single family home that I have renovated to be set up as a duplex. I live in the master bedroom blocked off from the rest of the house, while the tenants stay in the 4-2 bath portion. What is the best insurance policy to get for this type of property? Is bundling home and landlord insurance a thing? I imagine I'd have to have two separate policies, one business, one personal. Is that right? I'm just trying to think of the most cost effective way to go about getting insurance quotes for this scenario.
Yeah. So she needs insurance. What's like the short answer to that? She needs insurance on her property. She needs to know if she needs a business license to attach to that. Is that what she's saying?
Yeah. Does she need two? Does she need, since she's house hacking, she lives in one room? Does she need like a regular landlord in her own home insurance and then a business insurance? That's a fantastic question to ask the different insurance agents. And
Yeah.
this is what I do. I literally paint out the scenario of what I'm doing, who's renting out my unit, and I ask them what is the best how's the best way for me to be protected, to be insured, what type of insurance I need, and they're the ones who's going to educate you.
Yeah, and I think there's actually two separate policies you can get for house hacking. I think we just had Steadily, and that's the insurance that I use. Don, I think you use them too. If you own property, Steadily is really good because they've been in business for a long time. They operate short and midterm rental policies. And I think if you're house hacking, you have the ability to have one set of coverage on your main address where you're actually residing, and then a completely separate policy for folks that are going to be staying in there. And don't quote me on that. It's just me. I believe I remember them talking about that. They were just in my mentorship class talking about this with the students about a month ago. And I remember that being in place. Now, if you're going to create a business, yeah, you definitely want to eventually put together an LLC. That's going to protect you from somebody falling in your property, suing you specifically for that individual property that you have. If you don't have an LLC or things like that put together, if something were to happen in there, you could get sued for a lot of other things. But again, talk to a an insurance provider to bring a little bit more detail to that. I'm sorry, I don't necessarily have the best answer, but I know that there is a policy that could be done on that end. I think somebody might have answered that already, which is
Yeah. No, I think that's a fantastic answer, right? Is go to the professional. If we're talking about insurance, renters insurance, who call Steadily, call Proper, call whatever insurance company covers your state, right? That's the same thing as far as I need a real estate lawyer, attorney, right?
yep.
Call them, let them know your situation, because everyone is different. We operate in different states. And if I were to give you, real estate attorney advice and I operate in California and you're over there in Ohio, it might not make sense, right? So end of the day, you're going to pick up a phone and call them.
Yep. Yeah, totally. And yeah, and don't be afraid to do that because I think again, there's a lot of knuckleheads that are on our free Facebook group giving answers to things that aren't necessarily
Yep.
the most accurate. And again, we want to make sure that we're verifying, fact checking those things by calling these companies and stuff like that.
Yep.
And I'm not calling everybody on the Facebook group a knucklehead, but there are people that give answers on there sometimes where I'm just like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
we got to screen these things. So yeah, there's not always experts in these groups. So you have to be thoughtful, make sure you're connecting with other people. I've seen it happen a lot in there where people will take advice from somebody that doesn't necessarily understand the game or the policies or the procedures, and then it's not a good scenario. So always make
Yeah.
sure to connect with professionals who understand the space and or the companies you're on to connect
Yeah.
with.
Totally normal, Jessica. Like right now, I'm shuffling, not shuffling, but looking for a real estate attorney in Arizona because I'm in Arizona, and I don't know anybody, right? So doing the same thing, calling. It's almost like you're interviewing them. They're seeing if they could help you. So it's the same thing.
Yep, definitely. And if anybody has an Arizona attorney, drop them in the chat box so Don
Bang
can.
bang. Oh,
Yeah,
what is this post? I like this post.
yeah, that's a
Tickets are going up midterm. There's your post, guys. All right, this next one is no, actually, there's a good one up here that I wanted to. This one was pretty good by Bart. I'm sorry, Barquet
right. Yeah.
Lee. Is it just me? One of my unit has not been booked in almost 2 months. Someone mentioned to me nurses' salary had decreased and they are staying home. Yeah, I mean, COVID's over, so their stipend has definitely lessened. Um, However, there is still some markets like hospital city markets like Houston. That's one. Cleveland is another where there's still travel trend of medical professionals. And don't just think about travel nurses. There's MDs, right? There's radiologists. There's phlebotomists, even clinical lab scientists. So yeah, it doesn't stop at nurses.
Yeah, and you can also do this. This is a little hack on this too. Go to Vivian.com. It's a website that
Oh,
allows you
that's a
to
good one.
see all these different type of jobs that are being posted by healthcare clinicians or companies that hire that. Click on that. Click on that company. Type in the city that you're in. Type in the state, and you'll start to see like all these different companies that are hiring, what they're actually looking for, and that's when you can actually start to reach out to them and build that connection with those companies. But just like Dunn said, like you can't rely, especially healthcare, because there's so many variabilities that can happen where a hospital could all of a sudden decide to not hire travel clinicians anymore. They might just hire people that actually going to work in the hospital that are local to the market. Now, if you're building your business specifically on travel folks, then all of a sudden now that business is gone and dried up, and you don't have a secondary or third type of client to go after, and that's sounds like what could be happening right now. So again, diversification is the greatest strategy, not just with this, but with anything. You got to make sure you're diversifying not only your clients, but the people that you're connecting to. How you're building things, and I feel like that is just it's a super simple understanding of like what you're supposed to do, but I think it's just we always get kind of hyper focused on these one individual asset,
Yeah,
not asset
exactly.
classes, but avenues of clients that we can go
Yep.
after. It's just not a good idea to focus on one. You have to make sure you
Yeah.
can be multidimensional,
Yep.
and think that way from the get go. Because if not, you're going to be in this exact same position. So
Yeah.
Vivian.com, Indeed.com, and type in the city, state that you're in. Type in travel, registered nurse. See what comes up. I would. What else? What other tips would you get done if he's looking to get his property booked? He's still focusing on travel clinicians. What would be
Outside.
your thoughts on that?
Oh, still
Or just
medical
in general, like what
professionals?
else would you be thinking about doing there? Yeah.
Yeah, outside. So like what I would think, right, is this is like exactly what I got from you when I first heard about travel nurses when I first started in MTR. I was like, okay, travel nurses, that's a fantastic idea. Then I kind of zoomed out and said, wait, what other areas are traveling professionals? Like, I didn't just stop at what Jesse said. Then I thought, I'm like, wait, I used to travel for construction. I should call my old job and tell them that I got them. So pause, be a little creative. That's our goal here. Like, that's why we're giving you all these experiences, what we've done, where we won, where we failed, hoping that it will spark your mind to 2.0 it, right? And if you do, please share, or maybe you'll be here in midterm Mondays.
Yeah, no, I agree to that, man. I think the diversification part is so important. But yeah, I mean, that's a good point that you brought up right now, and I want to just make sure everybody understands this. Like when I first started, it was travel nurses. It's evolved since then, and I
Yep.
think it's really important to make sure that this industry is not new, but it's the concept and the ideas of it are not new. But the way this business model is growing and how rapid it's growing, it's going to continue to evolve. Like I mentioned before, I feel like we're still so early on in this space that there's all these different types of agents to go after, companies to go after. There's going to be new things that I'm going to learn how to do. I'm still
Yep.
learning a lot of things in this space right now. There's things that I've done that worked in the past that aren't necessarily working in the future, and I have to readjust and readapt and uh, start over in a lot of these things. I think a lot
Yeah.
of us, that's part of this game because it's new, it's evolving a lot faster than a lot of us can even think. So, and I talked about this before. What I did a year ago might not necessarily work in the future. In fact, it's not. You know, it's different. You have to approach these things in a different way. I think as long as you're able to have that, um, that mindset of like, okay, cool. This I might go after this now, but in 6 months or a year from now, this could completely change, and it might be a totally different avenue to go down. And that's what
Yep.
scares me is that when people get stuck in that one track mentality of one client of going after this one thing, and then all of a
Yep.
sudden you have to pivot, and you haven't already started planting seeds in the other spaces that you're going to have to plant to eventually outbeat everybody else. And that's where this like diversification piece is so
Yep.
important.
Yep. 100%. Love it. All right, let's go to this last one by John Isaac. Hey, gang, I just got my first MTR property set and ready to go. Woohoo, woo woo, or whatever,
Nice.
with an insurance relocation contract in the works. What?
Nice.
That's rare, John.
Yeah.
You
That's
got
cool.
you got a good one. Does anyone have a contract template they could share for this type of client? Tips and tricks would be well. Okay. Contracts template. I'm guessing a rental contract, right? Um,
I think he's talking about like what you're actually going to be saying, or is he talking about like a rental contract? I don't know the
does
difference.
anyone have a contract template they could share for this type?
Or he's probably thinking like, what kind of contract do I need if I'm reaching out to a company? Is that what he might be saying?
Probably. We'll try to help you, John, with what we think you're saying. If you just need regular rental contracts, like rental contracts, Jesse, what do you use?
I use Turbo Tenant. I've used countless different companies. They by far Turbo Tenant's the easiest to use. They now have REI Hub, which is like this. It's a banking system that attaches to it, kind of like QuickBooks, but for just
Mhm.
real estate investors. It allows you to make. It's just go check it out because I think again they have leases that you could do out of all 50 states. They're all there. It's just the easiest background checks. Everything's done in one spot, and that's what I like
Yep.
about Turbo Tenant. So make sure to check them out because again, I think they're by far the leading folks in the leasing space for sure.
Yeah. But other things that I would say, if depending on this question, that you would wanna highlight, pay attention to, and if you're since you're working relocation specialists, guys, if you're working with them and it's your first time, it's 100% okay to say, "Hey, I've never worked with you guys before. Can you show me your process?" They
Mhm.
prefer that. They literally prefer that than someone who comes in, pretends like they know everything, and then halfway through the claim or whatever, putting it together, there's something missing. And now you just made the whole process, you extended the process because you pretended like you knew. But if you tell them like, hey, I've never worked with you guys before. Do you mind showing me the expected steps or what do you need from me? Right? They'll be so glad to that you said that because you're making their job easier. Right. But one thing for sure you want to keep an eye out, and they'll ask you this is the notice to vacate, right?
Mhm.
Because sometimes projects, their homes, they get fixed up much sooner sometimes, and they'll have to leave a little sooner. So
Or later.
yeah, or later too, or
Mhm.
sometimes it extends,
Mhm.
especially if it's the weather, if it's raining in your area. So those are one things. Utility cap, that's a biggie. A lot of folks, you'd be surprised, a lot of folks still forget about utility caps. Um, you're going to want to make sure you let them know. For example, if you have like a 3-bedroom home, right, 350, depending what market you're in, how much your utilities are, you would know it. But you'd say 350 is the max each month of utility usage, right? And then you'd want to break it down. What does that utility usage even mean? Is it just water and power? Is it gas, water, and like? So the more detailed you are when it comes to this part of the contract, the safer you're protecting yourself. Because if you don't talk about it, then they'll go over your bill, they'll go over the utilities, and it was never in the contract. Now you're stuck with a fat utility bill.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good one to put in there. Yeah, having the flexibility with the terms, I think that's really important to make sure that they give you 30-day notice. Then you talked about, yeah, and that cap on utilities is a big one. And keep in mind, you guys, anytime you're putting a lease together, if there's like your lease is the be all end all with all that stuff, so you have to make sure you're really thoughtful on what you put in there. Like if you're in an HOA or something like that, like trash needs to go out on a certain day, like you have to put everything in that lease. so that the clients are following that, that blueprint. If there's anything that blows back, which we have happen all the time, I have people reach out to me, be like, they'll ask me or say something little that's like, hey, exactly what I just brought up. I have guests right now and they haven't taken the trash out. The HOA is getting pissed off at us. I don't know what to do. And I was like, is it in your lease? No.
Yep,
Okay. So like,
exactly.
how are they going to be violating any terms if you haven't put those in place right now? So, and again, you got to be super thoughtful about those things because, again, like I feel like there's always things that can happen, and you got to
Yeah,
be a step ahead, um,
yeah.
just in
Like
case it does.
yeah, detail. Like even for me, like smoking, right? There's some folks who smokes and they're gonna want to smoke, and a lot of our properties were not smoke friendly, right? Or maybe you have a patio and it's allowed. But in my case, like I'll instruct them exactly where to go where they can smoke. Right? Like this is the best place because we got neighbors. We want to be
You go to that
mindful.
spot.
Right?
The
Yeah,
tree,
no,
you got
seriously.
to climb that tree. I got a ladder for you. Go ahead and go light the lava lamp. All right, done. We got it, bro. We got it. Sit Indian style. Light the candles.
And there's a complimentary peyote. No, just kidding.
Yeah, and there's a little I think you have to be really thoughtful on that. You're right because it's just not just you that you're dealing with. You have
Neighbors.
neighbors. Like that's important.
Yep.
You got to be thoughtful on that stuff. So good. That was definitely solid, bro. With the least stuff.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Um,
sir.
what else do you have going on right now, Don? I know I got to jam out of here early, Don. I don't know if you saw my message I texted you a little bit ago, but I just want to make sure I got to jam out of here at the 45 mark exactly, because I'm actually in Aptos, California right now, at one of my properties right now that is a midterm rental that hasn't been booked in a while. So take that out for you guys. Like this place is not booked. I can't short term rent it because the city of Santa Cruz is a pain in the butt, or excuse me, city of Aptos doesn't. They get a certain amount of people that can have short-term rentals. And the gentleman that lives there, what's his name, Jim Nielsen, the guy that runs that thing is just like doesn't like me at all. So he just like if we're listed on any platforms or anything, he's like finding me and doing all that stuff, man. So I gotta like I have the same situation where I've been doing this for a long time. I'm now in a position where like I have to be thoughtful of like what am I actually going to do with my space? Am I going to rent it out by the room? I've been putting it up for midterm rentals for a while. I've been doing all these kinds of things, doing the same work that you guys are. And this is what I want you guys to realize: like even myself, done, like people that have been in this game for a while, we're going to have vacancy. Like you're going to get it. What am I
Mhm.
doing to counter that? I'm actually here. I'm going to be going to check out some hotels. I'm going to be driving by doing the old school stuff that I've been doing for years, where I actually take a picture of the work trucks that are sitting out in front of these hotels, calling them, how can I save them money? There's a lot of work that's actually happening in this market right now. I don't know if you guys have noticed that Santa Cruz and especially Aptos Capitola area, huge waves came in and like demolished a lot of the space out here. There's a lot of actual work going on out here. So a lot of construction, um,
Nice.
ocean type work. I want to get those employees to stay at this place because it's really comfortable. It's cool. I mean, you guys are checking out right now. It's pretty freaking awesome. Um, so yeah, I got to go out and do that work too. And this is what I really want everybody to realize: like, just because somebody's been doing this for 7, 8, 9, 10 years, we're still going to have vacancy. But I
Yeah.
don't have the ability to short-term rent. I now got to piggyback on the midterm space only. And if I can't get this stuff figured out, it's been vacant for a month, and the mortgage here is $4,000, $4,500. Um, I got to figure something else out. But luckily, I have enough properties that make enough rent where I can, if I needed to, I can squeeze some of that cash, skim a little bit off each property, bring it over here to cover the mortgage, stuff like that. So again, I think we have to be very thoughtful, and you have to continue to do the work. Like I'm doing new work. This is a newer market for me. I'm having to do the work. My Modesto, Fresno, other markets. Like I'm already familiar with those markets. I've already done my tenure and time there. I've already built, relationships where I get referrals. Aptos market's different for me. I have to be the one to go out there and do all that stuff. So again, this is one of those types of spaces that you have to be super active in. You have to continue to push forward. You have to, not wait till you get your back against the wall like I did here, where, I had an insurance relocation booking that lasted 7 months, 8 months. Short term rented it for a while. Then the city decided to show up and post these things on my door. I can't even have my property listed on the platform because they will send me a freaking violation notice. Again, now I have to follow the rules. The rules are you can't short term rent unless you get a permit. There's no way in hell this guy John Nielsen is going to want to give me a permit because he's slapped a lot of these things on my door already. I don't think he likes me very much at all. So, John Nielsen, I'm going to be sending you a email and a phone call probably tomorrow. So I'll look forward to that. Maybe I'll film it and you guys can hear what the conversation can look like.
That'd
When
be
it comes
good,
out
dude.
to short-term rentals and stuff like that. Because he actually went out, found me online, did all this stuff, and saw that I was a midterm rental operator, and I don't know, all that stuff. So it's kind of I feel like I'm in a different predicament right now. But again, I think this is a good experience for me to have because it's it's hard. Like I'm having to learn how to do these things just like you guys are in this particular market again. And then I have the strategies and understanding how to do it. Luckily, I'm only 30 days into this, but hopefully I get this place booked within the next 2 weeks or after I go out and do a little bit of research around here that things change. But again, this is part of this game. This is how it is. We make more money in this space. You got to make sure that you're saving it for a rainy day. And I think all of us are going to get our time in the sun in the midterm rental space, whether you get an insurance relocation claim, whatever it is, it feels good, right? You have that sun right on your face. It feels all good, but you have to be really thoughtful on like, there's going to be times where you're going to get some clouds and, it's just, you're going to have to pivot and change things around. But again, do that work when you get the bookings, when you're able to get the bookings and you start to like feel a little bit of calm because you have that mortgage that's being paid. Now you're going out making the phone calls, you're connecting with the companies, you're driving by and looking at, the agencies and things like that are in your markets. There's construction happening. You're driving by these hotels, you're seeing what's going on. You're connecting with people on Furnish Finder that are in your market that you can potentially ask if they run into any leads to connect with you if they need another property, all that kind of stuff. Those are all the things that you need to do in order to continue to push forward to build yourself a business. And again, it's not just a simple flip a switch and get done. It's like you have to be consistent with work all the time. Again, done myself, a lot of the folks in the community, like we have to do that. It's part of the game. We got to continue to build. So, Don, am I missing anything else out, man? This guy's going to be showing up here any second right now.
No, man, I think that's pretty good. I think we've shared some enough gems for Monday when you guys could catch us again, same time, same place next week.
Yeah.
Jesse, anything else?
Anything else? If you guys haven't had a chance, go check out the podcast. I have the JV pod with the podcast. You can check it out on Spotify and on Apple Podcasts, wherever you guys stream your stuff. Go check it out. If you're watching this on YouTube, we got about 20 something people on YouTube right now. What's up, guys?
Hey,
it's awesome to be able to communicate and connect with you guys here on the space. And as we talk about these things, if you ever have questions, make sure to drop in the chat box because we will answer them. And a lot of the questions that we answered today were on our Facebook group, which is a public Facebook group that you have to apply to get into. We don't just take everybody there, but yeah, it's been a pleasure. I love doing this stuff with you guys. I think it's important to continue to not only educate you guys because there's not many educators in this space that are giving information out, but I also want to watch you guys get successful because for me, I just love when I get a note from somebody. It's like, man, I got my place booked. It's booked for 6 months, 8 months, 9 months, 3 months, a month, whatever it is. And the things that you and Dunn and Dylan and folks in the community talk about, like it actually works. And again, it's not an easy thing. It's work. It's just like a W-2 job, except you're doing it for yourself. And that's where you have to really start to have that resilience, that grit, that mindset that's going to allow you to build. Because if you don't have that, this gets hard and you have to be able to piggyback on it. So I encourage you guys all, if you feel stuck, leave us notes on what you're stuck about. We'll make videos. We'll make conversations that are about those specific things. Hopefully not only do they help you, but they help everybody else. I'm done. I think that's it for me, man. I've said it as much as I potentially can say. And if there's anything else, go ahead and say it because
midterm Monday.
Yeah, we appreciate you guys for being here. Don, I'm going to jam out. I'll send you a note a little bit later, though, dude, once I finish up here. So,
all right, we'll talk later.
We will definitely talk later. You guys have a good rest of your day, afternoon, evening, wherever you're at in the world. Take care, everybody. Bye, y'all.
All right. Stop being.